Hi everybody. So I'm out cleaning, but I thought, well, I can't get a chance at the moment to record this video that I've been talking about on Pluto. So excuse me if I'm not looking directly at the camera, but my ideas and the things I want to share with you are very much like eye contact, fully connected, fully engaged. I'm just wiping. So yeah, I don't know if you saw my stories yesterday. I was talking about Pluto having just stationed to go retrograde back into Capricorn for the rest of this year. Not back into Aquarius, where it has been for about 6 weeks now, for the first time in like 200 and something years, so the first time in our lifetimes. And yeah, we're only getting like 2.5 months of Pluto in Aquarius in 2023, and so because Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 years, the symbolism of that transit for each of us will really be showing up in various ways at this station point. So Tuesday, the 2nd of May, in the UK at least, was when the retrograde began, and Pluto being the furthest out planet from us means that it moves slowly. I'm just spraying now. Means that it moves slowly. It's the slowest moving planet, so it holds the biggest changes for us. So in terms of like globally and individually, so on the mundane front, which is global events, and then on the individual level, which is looking at our own birth charts, natal charts, it's really powerful. Some would say it's possibly even the most powerful, because transformation, you know, it's never, I don't think it's ever a comfortable process. That's just not Pluto. Comfortable is like Venus or Jupiter, where it's just like things just kind of flow and come. Not in all cases, obviously all birth charts are different, but generally speaking, the kind of symbolism of Venus and Jupiter are more comfortable. They're the benefic planets, so you know, the idea is that they tend to bring about change for the better, good opportunities without having to try too hard, that kind of thing. Whereas Pluto is just like, here, look at all this deep dark stuff, and I'm gonna make you do the work, basically. So Pluto is fears, guilt, shame. You know, I'm getting straight in there, sorry. Like, maybe I should have put a trigger warning on the guilt, shame, things dragged up from the depths. This can be things from literally early parts of life, any point in life really, but shame and fear and guilt and things like that. I'm no clinical psychologist, but I am pretty au fait with these sorts of emotions from a, you know, personal, anecdotal perspective. And you know, a lot of that all stems from childhood and really early experiences of life. And so I guess one of the reasons for this video is just to kind of point out that that big change in direction is taking place now, and we've got another kind of 6 weeks-ish of Pluto in Aquarius, but it's revisiting those first degrees it's gone through. Well, first degrees, it's so slow moving that it hasn't actually gone anywhere really. So it's been in that first degree of Aquarius for the last 6 weeks. And yeah, and it's just doing its first revisit during this retrograde process, which means that, you know, we are, oh, timer elapsed. Oven timers, honestly. There we go. I do that on a daily basis when I'm cleaning, set oven timers off. Yeah, it means that pay attention to what's happening like for the rest of this week really, because it takes a while for Pluto to change direction because it is so far out and so slow moving. But the symbolism of it is really heightened. And so you'll be feeling it. And as I was chatting yesterday with somebody on here about omens and, whoa, that was close. Omens and signs. And this doesn't have to be a negative thing. Omens have a lot of negative, that word omen has a lot of negative connotations. I was just re-listening to an old class that I was taking in astrology from one of my many teachers over the years. And he was saying that an omen is like a divine moment when something makes you stop and kind of think and realise that you are connected to the divine in that moment, or connected to the universe, connected to energy, source, spirit, God, however you see it, to kind of allow you to become aware of the fact that you are moving in the right direction, or that what you're working on is I can't get that piece of garlic skin off the bin, is, you know, supporting your soul's journey in this lifetime, that what you're heading towards, whatever your desires, goals, aspirations are, whatever you think about, whatever occupies your time, whatever gives you that sense of like feeling alive, when you get omens coming along, it's a kind of confirmation from the universe that the things you're putting your energy and soul into are the right things, or possibly the wrong things, and that it's time for change, or to kind of dig deeper into those experiences that you're working towards. So yeah, we've got the next 6 weeks, but pay attention to this next week, next couple of days, and just think like, what's my attention being drawn to? So just to give you a really quick example of this, talking like on a personal level, which whole sign house is Pluto moving into for you when it's going to be in Aquarius the next 20 years. So where it's been for the last 6 weeks. Which whole sign house was that? What is the symbolism? You need to get a little list of that just available. I wonder if I've done a post on that before. If not, maybe I should do that, just so it's like a quick reference guide. But yeah, you've probably got some idea. Which whole sign house is being activated by Pluto in Aquarius. So find Aquarius in your birth chart, to kind of see if you can make any connections to those life areas. What's been happening, what's been transforming. Pluto, you know, it unearths, it uncovers. We've also got this eclipse coming up, which is quite linked to Pluto in terms of Scorpio symbolism. That's going to be on Saturday. Is it Saturday? Oh my God. I was convinced it's on, I think it's on Saturday, yeah. Yeah, full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. So, and my example of this is that I've got Aquarius in the 8th house. So Pluto's been going through my 7th house in Capricorn, where Pluto's going to retrograde back to for the rest of this year. And the 7th house is all about one-to-one relationships, marriage, partnerships, business partnerships, one-to-one work, kind of how you learn about yourself through the other. So it's a place of like projection often. And yeah, the area of relationships has definitely been active for me over the last 15 years. And you know, as Pluto was in my 7th house, actually when it went over my Venus, which is something that I hadn't even noticed myself, that one of my great astrologer friends on here, Raya Sun Astrology, pointed out when we had a reading a while back, that I went to her for a reading, just to be clear. Yeah, when Pluto went over my Venus, that's when I got married. like deeply kind of transformational, because up until that moment, Pluto in my 7th house had been pretty dark and scary, and putting me in these, I say putting me, planets don't really put us in situations, but I was finding myself in choosing to be in these relationships that were pretty scary on a kind of psychological level. And yeah, and that's just not a thing anymore, because Pluto has unearthed, like debunked or whatever, transformed that area of my birth chart, and I would rather die than put myself in a relationship that was like that ever again, and I haven't. So that's kind of Pluto, isn't it? It's like up until the transformation of Pluto, you can find yourself in these scary situations. Oh, like I'm about to make a loud noise by dropping everything here. Sorry if this is really annoying, it probably is, but I just really need to get my thoughts out. So yeah, now it's going into my 8th house. And the 8th house is all about other people's esteem. It can be connected to like a marriage partner because it's other people's finances, other people's resources. And so I just found it really interesting that a couple of weeks ago I was like, do you know what? We managed to book a holiday for this summer, which was one of my main like family goals of 2023, was to book a little family holiday. And I'm really excited about that. So that was nice. And you know, nothing crazy, but we're all going to go away, so that's really nice. And I was like, for that it would be really reassuring to have like a credit card, so that if there were a few things that we wanted to do whilst we were on holiday, then we could do some of the cool stuff and have an ice cream when we feel like it and that sort of thing. So I was like, I'm going to apply for a credit card because my old one's expired, and I've only ever had one credit card, because I have like this fear of, you know, borrowing money. I would rather make sure that I've got the money there and just kind of live to my means. But having had a credit card a while back, I kind of realised that I can trust myself to be responsible and mature and not get myself into an absolute mess, fingers crossed, financially, by having a credit card. So but yeah, I realised my credit card was out of date, so I applied for this new one. So I just found it really funny that on the day that Pluto stationed, yesterday, the credit card arrived in the post. And it's taken like quite a while to come, a couple of weeks or something, and it's been a bit of a process, like validating everything online. And I was just like, well, this feels very Pluto in the 8th house. And also there's been like quite a lot of you know, signing contracts where I'm like in an agreement with a phone company for a particular amount of money for the next like 2 years. And, you know, as I'm sure like most of you are probably in the same situation. But that sort of stuff has always really worried me. And when we were living in our old house, like financially things were a lot more difficult. And now finances are a bit easier. They're not great, but they're they're slightly kind of relieved. And so I feel like having a credit card is something like a responsible thing to do instead of an irresponsible thing to do. So anyway, that I feel is very much what this Pluto and Aquarius experience is going to be over the next 20 years, is like trusting myself and being like mature and responsible, and trusting the power of like bigger money. So like not just the money for an ice cream, but thinking, well, if I can afford to do a credit card now, over the next 20 years, maybe, like I don't have a mortgage, I've never had a mortgage, never owned a house, but maybe I can like trust myself to kind of get into that sort of situation where like, I might be doing that as a joint thing, you know, where me and my family might be doing that. Not that my family will be responsible, me and my husband might be doing that. But it's funny because like we got a new kettle the other day. I'm really getting into this now, aren't I? Sorry. We got a new kettle the other day. And one of the first things we ever bought together, possibly just before we got married, but like, yeah, we've been together a long time and both like financially very independent. So like it took us a long time to kind of join forces with anything. And the first thing we bought together was a kettle. And yeah, it finally kind of gave up the ghost the other day and we got this new kettle. And it was just a bit of a moment because I was like, oh, okay, that was the first thing we bought together. And now we kind of like slowly join finances with other things. And it just feels like it's going to be a bit of a theme over the next 20 years. That, you know, if you join finances, then opportunities can be, you know, a lot more rich. And Pluto is about riches and the things that can come to us if we do the work and look at the fears and all of that sort of stuff. And for me, like, sharing financial responsibility has always been a huge fear because it means having to like put that trust into somebody else and trust that they will be responsible and reliable and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it's yeah, it's a journey and it's going to bring up a lot of stuff, I'm sure, but I just wanted to share that with you because I felt that it was really relevant. I also saw not a raven, what are they called, magpie. And we don't have a garden, as you know, as I always bang on about, in our current house, but hopefully we'll be able to rectify that in the next, just, I don't know, year or so. But there's some grass, like a communal grass area outside the flats that we live in. And this magpie was just hopping about. And the first thing I noticed was the council came and cut the grass recently. And there was loads of daisies that have popped up. I mean, they literally came less than a week ago and already this life is like bursting forth. It's so inspiring. And I was like, oh, that looks so lovely. I was saying to the kids, look, the daisies are so lovely. And then we noticed this magpie and it wasn't going anywhere. It was just like hopping around, just like it was on show for us kind of thing. So we followed it for a while and it was in the garden for ages. I was like, you are really symbolic of like how we feel about not having a garden at the moment, and that like we love to kind of try and grow our own vegetables, and the kids really love being in the garden and love eating the herbs and everything. And I feel like that's so important. And so we've got like a little herb pot, which is great. But where we keep it in the yard, which isn't grassy, it's just a concrete yard and very small. Our neighbours upstairs will throw cigarette butts and stuff over the side, so it doesn't feel very nice. We try and keep the herbs kind of away from where they could get got, but yeah, it's just one of those nerve-wracking type things, like not very nice. Anyway, so we would love a garden, and I just felt like it was really symbolic, like this magpie is there, like, you know, kind of like the riches are coming. I think I researched a bit about magpie symbolism, and it's like magpies are, well, there was a few things. Could be considered lucky and kind of clever and witty, and I know they're known for kind of like shiny things. They like shiny things, and so do I. And I just thought that was quite symbolic of like financial situations and the 8th house, shiny things, other people's shiny things. And you know, when you buy a house, which has always been the ultimate aim, you're kind of taking on somebody else's shiny thing, because I can't imagine living in a brand new house. Now, I've said that on camera, probably happen, and it'll probably be amazing, but the dream has always been to live in an old house, a bit of character, and an amazing garden, basically. So and then this, I keep wanting to call it a raven, and then this bird flew off, but really slowly over to the top of some other flats so that I could still see it, we could still see it, and just hung around up there on the rooftops with the pigeons for like the next 5 minutes. It was amazing. It was such a moment, and it really made me kind of stop and reflect, and I was like, that's a sign. So yeah, I wonder if you guys experienced anything like this yesterday or over the next couple of days. I would love to hear, because I think it's so powerful the way that, you know, that we are communicated to by, you know, the divine, God, spirit, universe, energies, planets, whatever you want to call it. You know, the messages are out there. So anyway, that was my little Pluto video that I wanted to share with you all. I'm sorry it's a bit slapdash, but there we go. Sometimes these things are just that way. And I'm happier to get something out than nothing out at all. So yeah, I'll see you later.